All right, hello once again, Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College. And as part of the Rankin Technical College Application and Website Development, or AWD 1100 Programming Fundamentals with C# course, I've been doing a series of video presentations that are based on the PowerPoint slides for the textbook we use for the class. And that textbook, as you can see on the screen, is Muroc C# 7th edition. Now, this isn't exactly an announcement, but there's something I'd like to say about what we're going to do going on. I've done all of Section 1, all of Section 2. From Section 3, I've done Chapters 12, 14, and 16. I did 17 and 18, and I've done 19. But I'm not planning right now, at least, on doing 20 or 21. Why? Because they're complex. What I have done in the past is I've gone over these, and students seem to have kind of a lukewarm understanding of what's going on in there. And that's not the goal. All right. The goal is to teach you something and have you be able to go out and use it. All right. And I'm not sure right now if that's exactly what I'm doing. So what I'm going to do is I don't know, you might even call this take a step backwards. All right. And I'm going to go back and I'm going to jump back to where we made this Rankin database. All right. So we created a database called Rankin, and it has two different tables in it. It has a departments table in it, and as you can see, here they are. So each department has an ID, which is a unique record identifier. It's our primary key, and it has a department name. Now, we don't care about this being in alphabetic order. We could put it in alphabetic order. So in other words, I could sit there and say, select star from departments, order by department name. I can do that. That's not a problem. And boom, now you see it's in order based on name, but it's not in order based on ID. So you might say, well, why didn't you just put it in alphabetic order to begin with? Yes, we could have done that. And there would have been absolutely nothing wrong with doing that. However, what if we've got it in this kind of order? Let's say this was 1 through 10. All right. Now they come in, they being Rankin come in, and they bring in a new program. Let's say they bring in a new program that is, I don't know. Now let's talk about two programs. If they bring in a new program that's called security, well, look, the last one in here is a P, so they could bring it right down there. That'd be no problem. So if this was 1 through 10, then that could be number 11. Okay, that's all fine. But let's say they bring in another program, all right, that they call, I don't know, creative writing. I don't even ask me why, but I'm just making that up. Well, that would now be 1, 2, 3, 4. It should be number 5 in here, but 5 would already be taken. So it would go down to the bottom, okay? So unless you know every single thing that you're going to have in a table, and you know it'll never change, there's really not a whole heck of a lot of sense in just putting it in alphabetic order. Think about it this way, if that's still confusing to you. As people come into Rankin Technical College and come into a classroom, all right, they get put into a list that is in alphabetic order, but they're not forced into registering in alphabetic order. That wouldn't make a whole heck of a lot of sense. All right, so what I'd like to show you is a few things about this table, which is our listing of departments, and the other table, which, as you've already seen, is our listing of instructors. All right, and again, Charles and Brock and Chad and Thomas and me and Evan, we're real instructors. The rest of them I made up. All right, okay. So let's first talk a little bit about structure. And I know you've seen this already. I understand that. But you'll notice, again, primary key should be an integer. It'll make it an int 11 by default. What does that mean? That means that the largest number that it can hold is 11 nines, which I believe is 99,999,000. I'm sorry, 99,999,999,999. which is probably going to be big enough for just about anything. All right? I'm sure you can come up with, over time, you can come up with things. No, you need a bigger number. We could always make it a bigger number. So we're not allowing nulls in any of these, which means none of these can be left blank. All right? And we've got the auto increment set here, which means it's the first one gets put in as 1, the second one is 2, etc. And you don't have to, as you're adding more records, you don't have to put in an ID number. All right, that's what all that means. Then the first name and last name are both varchars. Varchar is variable length character field, which means that the first name can be, since it can't be null, it'll be 1 to 25 characters for the last name and the first name. Then they've got this collation here. I'm not even sure exactly what that means, except for the fact that it starts with UTF-8. All right? And what that means is it's using the Unicode character set. Now, why is that important? Back when I was the age of most people taking this class, we had one character set. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to type in, I'm going to go into Google Images. And I'm going to type in ASCII table. We'll be fine. All right. And yeah, it's not going to be easy to see, but we'll use this one. That should be fine. Let me bring this up and let me make it bigger. Back in the days, like I said, when I was your age, all right, we had this. If you'll notice in here, we've got, remember, the only thing the computer can understand are a series of ones and zeros. It's native machine language. All right. Back in the day, you know, when I was doing this stuff, which is, to be honest with you now, is getting up there around 40 to 50 years ago. All right. The only thing we really cared about was English. You know, A through Z, 1 through 10, etc. So this letter meant this. A 96 meant a backtick. A 100 was a lowercase d. A 68 was an uppercase D, etc. But you had these. The problem is, over time, we kind of changed our focus from a national society, or whatever you want to call it, to an international one. So whereas when you work with the ASCII character set, you really have, I believe it's 255 characters. But now notice if I come back here and I say, let's say, we're going to say ASCII versus Unicode. All right. Well, what's the difference between ASCII and Unicode? All right. And it says ASCII defines basically 128 characters. All right. And that is what? That is 0 through 127. Unicode defines 2 to the 21st. What does that mean? Well, let's do this. Because I'm good at math, but maybe not that good at math. So if I come in here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's 128 times 128 times 128. All right, so in other words, whereas you've got 127 or 128 possible character combinations in ASCII, you've got almost 2.1 million combinations in Unicode. Now it says Unicode is a superset of ASCII, and what that means is the first 0 through 127 in the Unicode character set is, or are these right here. But Unicode will handle any language, including languages that may not even have been invented yet. All right? So that's more than you needed, I understand that. But I wanted you to at least hear that. All right. So where were we? All right. And then we've got department number, which again is an integer. Now, had we gone in here and allowed nulls, you can't allow a null for your primary key field. So your primary key field, that null must be set to no. Any of these could have been changed. And if we changed any of them, that would mean that we would allow there to be no entry. So let's say we made the first name and last name, both of them, or maybe even better, the department. I gave you this example in an earlier lecture. We hired Jane Smith in as a new instructor, but we don't know what department she's working in yet. So she's got an ID, she's got a first name, she's got a last name. But if this is set to yes, we could hire her in and not yet give her a department number. Add that at a different time. All right. Okay, now looking at the other table, which is, so this was our table of instructors, but looking at the other table of departments, you'll notice that's even a simpler table. All right, what do I mean? It only has two fields. It has an ID, which is, again, our primary key, and the ID in one table and the ID in another table can be totally disjoint from one another. In other words, all right, in other words, those two don't have to have the same name, and they can potentially hold different values. All right, so again, we've got this ID of type integer, size 11, and a department name, which again is a variable character length. Again, must be no for the primary key for nulls, and we've set it to auto increment. That doesn't mean that every ID field is always going to be set to auto increment. Many are. I would even guess to say most are, but it's not that it has to be. All right. So you've seen that, and I've shown you some of this stuff, but I'm going to show you a couple things in here now that we have not really talked about before. And I'm going to start with this. So I'm going to come over here to my SQL window right here, and I'm going to add a few different things in here. All right. So if I say, and you don't have to do this, but usually what people do is they take the keywords in the language and they uppercase all of them. So if I say select star from instructors, all right, you'll notice that error goes away. All right. And if I go and run this query, that shows me all of the instructor information. You've already seen that. All right. And in much the same way, now notice it puts these backticks in here. They're not needed, and where one is also not needed. This is something the system puts in there automatically. You do need backticks if you've got a table or field name that has a space in it. We don't have that here. All right. And what you're going to see, so for instance, with first name, if we'd have said, called it like first name like that, something like that, you would need the backticks. All right. When you work with SQL, rather than backticks, if you've got a space like that, you put them inside of brackets. Now, since we're working with a different language, you'll notice that it's giving us an error here. All right, because both MySQL, which is what we're using now, and SQL Server, which we're going to move to in just a bit, they're both relational database management systems, or RDBMSs, and they both work with SQL, but they each has their own dialect, so to speak, of this. All right, so if I come in here now and say first name, okay, you'll notice that now I will only have the, whoops, what I didn't like. Select, oh, all right, that was stupid. But, so this should have said select first name. We'll fix it. So select first name from instructors. That'll work. So that should just give me Charles, Brock, Chad, Thomas, Jeff, etc. As you see, it's not showing anymore. It is not showing any of the primary keys, those IDs, because we didn't ask for them. All right. So if we came in here and said select first name, comma, last name from instructors and ran the query, you can see what we get. And again, should you care? It's not so much that you should or shouldn't care, but most of the time when people are doing this stuff, they could care less. They could care less about what the primary key is, what the order, etc., that they're working with is. It's just really and truly not that important. All right. So let's see. So you can do a select star, and that'll give you everything. You can do a select followed by one or more field names. Okay. Now you've already seen this, but let's leave the select star in there. We'll leave those backticks, even though we don't need them. And what order, when we run this, what order does this go in? The answer is, we never know. Okay, we just got select star from instructors. Is that in any kind of order? All right. Now that I'm looking at this, look what we have here, 14, 15, etc. I'm wondering myself how we got these. All right. So it says there's 14 of them total, but notice I must have removed the table and then added it again. And that's why it's 14, 15, 16, etc. All right. It's not a big thing one way or the other. IDs are just IDs. So it is putting them in ID order, and that's the order in which they were inputted. So if I want to change that order, as you've already seen, okay, I can still say select star from instructors, and again, you see I can use lower or uppercase, but I can use the order by. So I can say order by, let's say last name. Now you'll notice that when I do this, I'm going to show you this, I oftentimes will write my queries like this, because the select is one part of the query, the from is another part of the query, the order by is yet another part of the query. So this should show me all of my instructors by last name in ascending order. And I'm going to just grab this so I don't have to retype it. So you'll notice now Anderson, Brown, Corrigan, Groharing, I should say, and everything that's here is in alphabetic order, in ascending order. If I run that again, and I add at the end of this, I can put this in. It's redundant, but I can put in ASC. That's redundant because that's the default. If I run this query now, what you'll notice is I'll get the exact same results I got before. Anderson, Brown, etc., all that. Okay, the exact same order in which I put things before. Now, if instead of doing that, I put it in and put in the word DESC at the end, that means give me them in descending order. So ascending is A to Z, descending is Z to A. So you'll notice that now Michael White, Janet Smith, Jeff Scott, we're going from W down to A. All right. Now, do we have anybody we have any matches in here? I wish we did, but I don't think I put any in. I don't want to add more. Oh, we do. We have Betty King and Kent King. Okay. So you'll notice here, Betty came before Kent. Why? I don't know. It's no big thing. Okay. But if there are ties like this, all right, I can handle that as well. So when I did this, and I put in this, so that orders them by last name. If we have two different last names, I'll say next, first name. And I can say first name, so this will be an ascending order. This is as though I wrote this. I can put it there, but I don't have to. But let's say that if there's any ties, so two people with the same last name, then I want the first name, but I want it in descending order. So last name in ascending order. If there are any last names that are the same, then do them by first name in descending order. And you'll notice that if I do that, now with the Kings, Kent comes before Betty because when you look at it in descending order, K comes before B. All right? Okay. Now, when you start to work with this stuff, you may not want all of the information that's in there. So I can say select star from, and I'm going to keep doing it in uppercase. So select star from instructors. And you know as well as I do, we've talked about this before, that'll give you a listing of all the instructors. All right? But notice we've got this department number in here. All right? So let's put in here where department number is equal to 1. 1, I believe, was general education instructors. We can go back and look at that. But now we get a subset of what we asked for earlier. We don't get everything. So when I run this, notice I only get Kent King. That's the only person in here with department number 1. Do I know for sure that that is correct? Well, let's go back here and let's select star from instructors and let's do an order by, order by department number. All right, and if we run that, you'll notice there's only 1 from department 1. So if I run that query again that I just put in, select star from instructors, again, I don't like those goofy backticks, but so if I come in here, select star from instructors, where department number is equal to 3. Then you'll notice if we do that, what do we get? We get everybody in information technology. Mr. Corrigan, Mr. Parsons, Mr. Grow-Herring, and Mr. Anderson. All right. So if I change that, and I change it from a 3 to a 4, that's the department I work in, so there should be Mr. Gudmested and myself. And you'll notice that's exactly what we get. All right. And notice I came before Mr. Gudmested. Why? Well, when you look in here, come on. All right, we had where department number equals 4. We didn't say, so we could come in here and do this. I'm going to do it for you right now. All right, where department number equal 4, then I could have said order by last name. All right, and that should be in ascending order. Now Mr. Gudmested should come before me, and he does. And if we run the same query again, all right, and we say order by last name in descending order, all right, now I should come before Mr. Gudmested, and I do. All right, what if while we're doing this, what if I don't? What if I don't want? So what if I want everybody except for the people who work in Department 4? So I'm going to say my select star from this, where department number, all right. Well, there's 2 ways I can do that. I can say not equal 4. Let's forget about the order by right now. So I can say not equal 4 like that. So that should give me, in fact, let's order it by department number. That is a good idea. So order by department number. But the key thing is this, that's not equal. All right, let me grab this just so I've got the query. And you'll notice departments 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, so 4 is missing. So that is one way that I can write this. Another way that I can write this is instead of using this, I can use a less than sign followed immediately by a greater than sign. Now that doesn't work in every single type of database management system. Most of them, all as far as I know, all of them support the exclamation point equal sign, but not all of them support this. You'll notice if I run this, once again, 4 is missing. All right, so that's a not equal. All right, so we've hit on a few things here. We've talked about select and select star. We've talked about the where clause to give us some criteria. All right, we've talked about the order by. Let's talk about a few more things that are in here. All right, and I don't have to use this table. I can use the other table just as well. So remember, when we have our select star from departments, I think that's what it was called, right? Yep. What that's going to give me then are our 10 departments. All right. And you'll notice, again, they're not in alphabetic order. We already looked at how we could put them in alphabetic order, doing an order by the department name. But right now, they're in an order by ID. All right. What if I want all of the department names, but I want just the ones that start with the letter A? You can see it's these three. All right. So if we write this correctly, that's what we should get back. Don't want to do that. So you already seen that if I type in this, if I type in select star from departments, I get everything. All right. And if I say this, where department name, I don't want to use an equal here. I want to use basically, I want to search for anything that starts with A and has anything after it. So to do that, I want to use pattern matching. So I use the word like, and I have to put it in single quotes here. This is case insensitive. So I say it starts with A. Now in some languages, for a wildcard character, you use the asterisk. This is not one of them. I use a % sign. So this says, give me all the department names that start with the letter A. All right, and I'll even do an order by department name. This should return 3 departments: architecture, automotive, and application and website development, because all of those start with an A. And when we run it, you'll notice that's what we get back. All right. So when I do this, what if I don't want ones that start with A, but I just want ones that have an A in them someplace? So then I can do this. This means 0 or more characters followed by an A, followed by 0 or more characters. So do we get anything different when we do this? Yeah, we get more, because electrical has an A in it. General education has an A in it. Information technology and manufacturing all have A's in them. All right. And much like I showed you before, if I wanted you to show me or to print out here all the ones I think I can put not here that don't have an A in them. All right. And you'll notice no A in there, no A in there, no A in there. All right. Again, I'm just trying to show you here different ways of extrapolating or going through the data to grab what we do or do not want. All right. All right. What if I want all of these that end with the letter E? Then I do this. So 0 or more letters followed by an E. So these are just the department names that end with the letter E. Do we have any? Architecture, automotive, they both end in E. Okay? And again, all I'm trying to show you here in this particular example was just some what is referred to as pattern matching. Okay? All right. What if I want to find out, and you've already seen this, so I'm going to do a select star from instructors again. All right, you've already seen this. So here's our 10 instructors. Okay? They're not really in any kind of order other than they are in ID order. Okay, but what I want is I want them in order, but all right, I want all of the instructors in order based on what department they work in. And if you say, I don't understand, let's write the query and see if I write it correctly or not. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say select star from instructors, and I'm going to say group, yeah, I can do that. Group by department name. Let's see if this works first of all. Okay, it says unknown column, department name in group statement. All right, so I'm getting an error. Why? All right. Well, there's an ID in there and there's a department name, but it doesn't like that. So let's see if what happens. I don't know if this will work or not. So instructors, let's see what was in the instructors table. I'm going to look at that right now. All right. We didn't have a department name. We had a department number. All right. So let's bring that back again. So instead of by department name, let's do it by department number. All right. And let's run that. Now notice, okay, what do we have here? It's kind of hard to tell. Let's see. Department number is 1, 2, 3, 4. That really... I think it's just showing us the first employee that works in each one of those departments. All right, which is not at all what I wanted. So let's go back and let's look at that query again. Okay. So we have this. I want to change this, and I'm going to put in what's called an aggregate function. So I'm going to say count star. Something I'm actually trying to show you here, and hopefully I'm going to be getting it right soon. Nope, doesn't like that either. So I think I know what the problem is. I think I did the same thing here. That's got to be department number. All right. All right, good. We just ran an aggregate function. Now, looking at this, kind of hard to figure out, well, what the heck does that mean? So let's go back and make it a little easier to understand. All right. So rather than just doing that, let's put in department number and then a count star. All right. And again, it still is, we're going to refine it in just a bit. So this says Department 1 has 1 employee, Department 2 has 1 employee, Department 3 has 4 employees. All right. We're doing what's called an aggregate, and there are 5 or 6, and there's actually about a dozen aggregate functions. But some of them, unless you are really a mathematician, you probably aren't going to use very often. You've got things like standard deviation and variance and a few things like that that most people, at least, as far as I know, don't use very often. But look at these names. That's pretty long for this, and so is this. So how do we change those names if we want to change the names? Well, I can go in here and I can create aliases for the names. And what does that mean? So I'm going to say here as department number, and this count here I'm going to say as, we'll just make it simple, number employees. And that should be a single, not a double. All right. So what did that do? It's the same query, but I've given it better headings. All right. What if I did this and I wanted to know which department had the most employees? Now, we don't have a real big group here, as you can see, But I could go back to my query, and then I could order it by that count star. All right, and maybe I wanted it descending, so the ones with the most employees, all right, would show first. What does that do? Well, it's showing us that Department 3 has 4, Department 4 has 2, and the rest all have 1. This basically is in an indeterminate order. All right. What if I didn't want that? Well, I can always come in and refine the query even more. So I'm ordering it by the count, but if there's counts that if there's a tie in the counts, I'll put department number. So again, what did that do? Now notice it's 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So there's some semblance of order to it. Now, I mentioned that using count, which is what I just showed you, that's an example of what's referred to as an aggregate function. All right. There are additional aggregate functions that you can use as well. I'm going to show you a couple of those right now. Now, these queries that I'm about to put in here are going to look kind of stupid, but I'm just trying to show you a point. I can put in here max department number. That says what is the biggest department number I have. And you see it's Department 10. That makes sense. In much the same way, if instead of max, I say what is the minimum or min department number, that should come back with a 1. All right. And it does. There's also a few other ones. Now, this is going to be a dumb query, and I don't know why we would do this, but what is the average department number? What is that going to do? It's going to add all those department numbers up. 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7 plus 8 plus 9 plus 10, and divide them by the total number of departments, which is 10. So 55 divided by 10, this should return 5.5. Well, I guess it doesn't. All right. I don't know why it did that, but it did. Let's look. So let's see, what do we have in here? 1, I think that's 1 plus 10. I thought that was 55. Let's look. Oh, it's the instructors table that we're working with. And remember, there are more than 10 instructors. That's why. So if we selected max department number from departments, oops, all right, like that, unknown in there. So what did we call that in departments? Okay, we don't have it in there. All right. But what we can do in here, you can use max and min. You can use max and you can use min on non-numeric fields. All right. So I can come in here and ask for the max. Select max department name from departments. I'm just keeping it in lowercase for right now. Okay. Again, I should be consistent, so select max from. Okay. This should come back and show me the last department name alphabetically. And plumbing is the last one. The first one should be something with an A. All right, so if I select min department name from, and then min should be, again, it doesn't have to, this is totally case insensitive, from departments. It'll be something with A. What is it? Application, automotive, and architecture. So it should be the department I work in, I believe. What does that like here? You got to learn to spell. And there it is. So those are a couple of the aggregate functions. All right. I'm going to show you a little bit more. I know this is starting to get long already. It's at 40 minutes. But I want to show you a few more things, and then we're going to stop, and we're going to have one more lecture where I'm going to show you how you can add records, how you can update existing records, and how you can delete existing records, plus how you can join the two tables together. All right, so we'll go through that in just a moment. All right, but before we do, let's go back to here, and let's look at a couple more things here. All right, if I do a select star, from departments, you've already seen this, I get back all 10 departments. What if there were 1,000 departments? There are not, but what if there were? It would try to show me all 1,000. It would probably only show me about 25 on a screen, but there'd be 40 different screens. What if I only care about the top 3 departments? So I want them in alphabetic order. Let's say the top 4 departments. I want them in alphabetic order, but I want just the top 4. All right, so I'm going to say select star from departments, order by department name. And if I do that, I'm going to get all 10. But if I say in here like limit 4, now what do I get? Just the top 4 in alphabetic order. All right. What if I wanted the bottom 4? What if I wanted the bottom 4? All right. So I just did this. I said select star from departments, and I said order by department name, and then I said limit 4. Well, what if I said order by department name in descending order, limit 4? Now I do get the bottom 4. All right. So hopefully what you're starting to see here with some of this stuff is there's a lot of junk, so to speak, that you can put in here. And I haven't even hit everything with you. I'm trying to hit some of the high points. So I've gone through the select, the where, the order by, the group by, the limit, all right, etc. Okay, you've already seen this. If I do select star from instructors, so select star from instructors, I get all the instructors. Now you could imagine if we had hundreds of instructors, you know, we've got 2 kings in here, a king there and a king there. What if I don't want there to be any repeats? All right. So if I do this, if I say select last name from instructors, so I just want the last name here. All right, and if I do this, there I get them. But you'll notice we've got in here king and king. What if I don't want any duplicates in here? So I just want ones that are distinct. All right, so I'm going to grab that same query, put it in again, but I'm going to say the word distinct. So just show me no matches. So if I've got multiple people named with the last name of Scott, only show me the first one. And notice that once I do that, now there's only one king in here. And to prove that again, I'm going to come back in that same query. And I'm going to do an order by last name. And you'll notice that when we do this, there'll be no, whoops, put something wrong in there. Select, oh, that was nice. Select distinct, T-I-N. That looks funny, but it does. And you'll notice when we look in here, there's only one king. Okay? All right, just a couple more things, and then we will put this one to rest. If for some reason, and you have this again in virtually every one of these, I'm going to say in here, just so you see these, what is it? Oh, what is it? I'm looking for upper and lower. A good way to find out is I can come in here and I can say W3 schools, MySQL, built-in functions. MySQL functions. And I'm not going through most of them because you can see there's quite a few. All right, there it is just called lower. There's a lower and there's an upper. All right, so let's look here. Oops. So we're going to do the lower here, and I'm going to try the upper here. And I'm doing the last name twice, just so you can see the difference. So there they are, all in lowercase. There they are, all in uppercase. The reason that using things like lower and upper are unbelievably important are sometimes when people are putting in data, sometimes they may put it in an uppercase, sometimes they may put it in lowercase, sometimes they may put it in mixed case. And if it's in there like that and you are creating a report for maybe a manager, you might want everything to be in uppercase, lowercase, or mixed case. All right. Now there's about two more things I want to mention to you, and then we're going to end this particular lesson. The first one is I showed you before. We did this. We did a select count star from instructors, and we said group by count star. All right, so select count star, and let's also select the department number. Okay. All right. You've already seen this one. In fact, let's put the department number first. It'll just look, I think, a little bit nicer. All right. Now, what doesn't it like? Invalid use of group function. We'll get it. Select department number, count star from instructors. Wish I had saved that one before, so let's see. Select department number. From instructors, and group them by that. You can put a field in there. Okay, star just means basically anything. Got a feeling this still isn't going to work, and it isn't. So invalid use of group function. Well, let's look that up. It's giving us a MySQL number 1111 error. So I'm going to say MySQL number 1111 error. It says invalid use of group by. And they give some examples. This is out on Stack Overflow. Well, that was a fairly complex explanation there. What I wanted to show you was when you use a group by function, when you use a group by function, you can't put a where in there because it doesn't go with group by. All right, it says unexpected ordering of clauses. You can't have a where after a group by. Instead, you use the word having. Now, I'm not going to go any more with that because I don't want to confuse you any more than I maybe already have. Okay? But there's one more thing I want to show you, and then we're going to put this lesson to rest. And that is this. Okay, I'm going to say in here, select first name, comma, last name from instructors, which will give us all the instructors. But I'm going to say here where first name, all right, and we're going to say where the first name begins with, so starts with, so like, and it's going to begin with a C. I know that that'll get Charles and Chad at least. So we're first name like this, and last name, all right, we'll say here like, and it must end with, let's say, an N. This, I believe, is only going to find Mr. Corrigan. So we'll find out right now. And it does. Now, why am I showing you that? You know, it's like you just waste. No, I'm not wasting your time. Notice in here that if I use and, the name must start with a C and the name must end with an N. So the first name must start with a C and the last name must end with an N. If instead of saying and, I put an or there, that says give me any instructors whose first name starts with a C, so that'll bring in Mr. Corrigan because it's Charles, Mr. Grow-Herring because it's Chad, and I don't know if they've got anybody else or not, and it'll also give us anyone whose last name ends with an N. All right? I don't know if we're going to just get those two or if we're going to get more or not. All right? So starts with a C, starts with a C, ends with an N, ends with an N, ends with an N, ends with an N. So when you do these kinds of things, and I'm going to bring this up here, I'm going to put it in here twice. All right? And if you have the word and in here, then what's on the left of the and must be true, and what's on the right of the and must be true. When you do an or, either what's to the left of the or must be true, or what's to the right of the or must be true, or they're both true. So you're being more liberal by using or and more conservative by using and. All right? That was just a little bit to get you started. What we're going to do when I come back in just a couple minutes, we're going to keep working with this, and I'm going to talk to you about how we can do what are referred to as Crud operations. So I'm going to show you how we can create a new record, how we can update one or more existing records, all right, how we can delete a record. We've already looked at, so C in the word CRUD, C-R-U-D, CRUD is create. We'll use an insert for that. R is read. We already did the select for that. U is update. We'll do an update statement. And D is delete. We'll do a delete. So we'll go through those operations. All right. We'll also talk about how you can alter information in a table. All right. We'll talk about nulls and a few other things. So I'll be back with that in just a couple moments.